So settle down, class, because today we're going to be doing history. Well, sort of.
England, in the gallant days when history hung on the flight of an arrow or the slash of a sword, when feudal barons ravaged the countryside to live in pomp and splendor, when one man alone dared challenge the might of his country's oppressors, Robin Hood.
There is absolutely no evidence whatsoever that there was a physical person called Robin Hood.
Now, I'm glad he said that and not me. After all, he's a professor, so you've got to believe him. Robin Hood isn't a character from English history. He's a character from English folklore. Songs and poems about Robin Hood go back a long way, and by a long way I mean 1137. The first mention of him is in Piers Plowman, where one of the characters, who's called Sloth, says, I don't know the Lord's Prayer perfectly, but I do know the ballads of Robin Hood. But the Robin Hood featured in these early poems and songs, which people told rather than wrote down. It was an oral tradition. Sometimes he was a thief and a robber. Sometimes he was a vagabond. Sometimes he was kind, sometimes cruel, sometimes very religious. I don't think they were talking about the same guy. I think all these people were different. But the word Robin Hood came together as a sort of composite name for all those characters. It's a bit like these days you would say, here comes the bogeyman. The next important date is 1479, when along comes William Caxton, who brings the printing press to England. He wasn't just a printer, though. He was also a publisher and a bookseller. Now, his deputy was a fellow called Wynkyn de Worde, and Wynkyn de Worde had a great idea. Why not take all the poems and stories of Robin Hood and put them into one book, a compilation? It became a medieval bestseller. And along with the printed word came the plays, based on the book by. The most influential of these plays was Anthony Munday's The Downfall of Robert, Earl of Huntingdon. That was published in 1597. And this is the first time most of the elements that we know and love about Robin Hood come together. There's Maid Marian and Little John and Friar Tuck and the Sheriff of Nottingham and Robert Hood, Earl of Huntingdon. Now there's the thing. Where'd he come from? Earl of Huntingdon? Thought he was a robber and a thief and an outlaw. Here's what I think happened. While the Robin Hood stories were being spoken, the audience were illiterate peasants. And what they did was identify with a peasant who was an outlaw. But what happens when you write things down is the audience changes. Suddenly, it appeals to people who can read, people who go to plays. They don't want to see a story about an outlaw. But how about an earl who loses his land and then becomes an outlaw? That's more like it. So we've kind of got all the elements now of the Robin we know and love. But there's one missing. And that missing element comes from a most unusual place. This is the book that introduced Zorro to the world. And when former athlete and gymnast and movie star Douglas Fairbanks decided to play Zorro in a movie, the character fitted him like a glove. His mixture of daring do and swordplay transferred effortlessly to the character of Robin Hood, which he did 2 years later in 1922. And Robin, the swashbuckler, was born. And so to Errol Flynn. All the elements were there. All that was needed was Technicolor and sound.
With the compliments of your royal brother, King Richard, God bless him.
By my faith, but you're a bold rascal.
But it's lost you your rank, your lands. It's made you a hunted outlaw when you might have lived in comfort and security. What's your reward for all this?
Reward? I just don't understand, Claire.
He's Flint Phillips Arrow. You've come to Nottingham once too often.
When this is over, my friend, there'll be no need for me to come again.
May I obey all your commands with equal pleasure, sire?
After the success of the Errol Flynn movie, the floodgates opened, and there were Robin Hoods everywhere.
From the green glades of Sherwood Forest into the hearts of the world comes riding the merriest, most adventurous rogue of them all, Robin Hood.
A British TV show with Richard Green, The Adventures of Robin Hood, proved so successful there was a spin-off Hammer movie in 1960.
Richard Green as Robin Hood, who matched his courage and his men against the forces of the law.
And even more amazingly, some of the original footage from the 1960s show, The Richard Green Show, was reissued, colorized and widescreened into a film, 35 years after that TV show was cancelled. And the Robin Hoods themselves came in all shapes and sizes.
Once upon a time, there was a good-for-nothing ne'er-do-well. He saw the most beautiful woman in the whole of England.
Who's winning, Uncle?
Basil. He's back in Sherwood.
Robin's back in Sherwood, I said.
They're flocking to him in hundreds. He's become a legend. Have you ever tried to fight a legend?
I can't believe it. Did Marion Fitzwalter just win a cooking contest?
My new recipe won! Wait. Is that Sir Guy's sword I see in your scabbard?
No, just happy to see you.
Robin Hood could be in a fix. Robin Hood spies the Weetabix. Does he retreat back to Sherwood?
'Cause he should, 'cause he should, 'cause he should.
Have you had your Weetabix?
Well, if he's Little John, that makes you...
I know. Robin Hood.
Sir, I protest. I am not a merry man.
Cancel the kitchen scraps for lepers and orphans. No more merciful beheadings. And call off Christmas.
We're men in tights. We roam around the forest looking for fights. We're men in tights. We run from the rich and give to the poor, that's right!
Do you remember that professor at the beginning of our piece today? Well, here he is again, with a really very interesting observation.
The way to help you see how we should view the medieval Robin Hood is to encourage you to see him as a superhero. But not a superhero like Spider-Man or Batman. In fact, not a man at all, but a Time Lord. He, she is a character on which to hang a whole variety of stories and in which to invest a whole variety of personalities, all of which are recognisably Doctor Who, but all of whom are different from one another.
I'm not a hero.
Well, neither am I. But if we both keep pretending to be, perhaps others will be heroes in our name. Perhaps we will both be stories. And may those stories never end. Goodbye, Doctor. Time Lord of Gallifrey.
Goodbye, Robin Hood, Earl of Locksley.
And remember, Doctor, I'm just as real as you are.
But remember, long before he was a Time Lord, or an international movie star, or a comic book hero, or even a literary sensation, there were the tales.
Robin Hood was hunting in Sherwood Forest.
Which is where we came in.
His merry men were not with him. Maid Marian was not with him. She was at home doing the washing.